I looked at this list, and you know what wasn't on there? Anything about Maui.
The drama surrounding Oprah Winfrey has finally boiled over, and this time, the velvet gloves are off. Once hailed as the queen of daytime television, the grand priestess of empathy, and the smiling face behind a million aha moments, Oprah is now squarely in the crosshairs of two media powerhouses who aren't afraid to take swings where others whisper. Gutfeld and Megyn Kelly didn't just criticize Oprah. They took her mythos, ran it through the shredder, and displayed the glittering remains under the harsh lights of live television. And what they exposed wasn't just hypocrisy, it was the gilded machinery of a billion-dollar brand masquerading as inspiration. Once upon a time, Oprah was seen as raw, real, and remarkable. A woman fresh out of Chicago whose authenticity and charisma electrified the screen. That Oprah, the one who connected with audiences from the heart, feels like a ghost now. What remains is a meticulously polished image, crafted through layers of PR gloss, designer wellness, and an ever-growing empire of branded enlightenment. "I miss Fat Oprah," one commentator lamented, "not for the size, but for the soul." Because the slimmed-down mogul-mode Oprah didn't just shed weight, she shed the very essence of what made her relatable. What Gutfeld and Kelly dismantled wasn't just Oprah's recent political overtures or her annual list of overpriced, favorite things. It was the entire performance, the delusion that she is still in touch with real people while living in a fortress with a vineyard and a staff large enough to run a small town. Kelly's tone was icy and surgical. Gutfeld's, chaotic and brutal.
Right? At one point in time, she and The Rock made that video to try to help out everybody who was hurt by the fire.
Together, they stripped the layers off the myth of Oprah until all that was left was a woman preaching humility from a diamond-studded pulpit. How did we get here? Well, imagine Oprah, one of the richest individuals on earth, standing before a crowd and solemnly telling them that being wealthy is hard. Not just hard. Exhausting. Like she's a victim of her own success. This alone, Gutfeld joked, should qualify her for a stand-up comedy award. It's a line so tone-deaf it could only be delivered by someone who hasn't waited in line at a grocery store since the 80s. And yet, here she is, constantly trying to balance the tightrope between being the billionaire savior and the girl next door. Her recent humanitarian efforts only further widened that gap. The idea of Oprah flying first class to a disaster zone with a lighting crew, stepping over debris in couture, and declaring her solidarity with the downtrodden is the kind of satire that writes itself.
And then that was just quickly discarded. She's like, okay, that didn't work. Who wants?
And Megyn Kelly wasn't letting her off the hook. She called out Oprah's polished exploitation of pain, noting how suffering becomes the packaging for her next bestseller or documentary. It's not awareness, it's aestheticized despair, crafted for consumption, then monetized and promoted as compassion. And let's not forget the infamous Maui debacle. Oprah and The Rock filmed a video asking regular people to donate to wildfire victims while both sat on vast fortunes. That video wasn't just poorly received, it was a catastrophe. The optics, abysmal. The sincerity, questionable. It vanished from the spotlight faster than you could say, slippers, which ironically became the next giveaway on her product list. You get slippers. You get slippers. Everybody gets slippers. As if the memory of a PR failure could be erased with a new round of gift wrapping. But the core of Gutfeld and Kelly's takedown was this: Oprah has become a brand, not a person. Her every move, every cause, every emotional plea is calculated. She doesn't give without taking. She doesn't uplift without leveraging it. Her philanthropy feels less like generosity and more like an investment. A well-oiled PR engine that converts tragedy into traffic and feelings into funds. As Gutfeld brilliantly put it, Oprah doesn't do outreach, she does production.
Slippers! You want slippers, you get a pair of slippers, you're all getting slippers!
Her version of helping looks like boarding a private jet to grief and charging for the in-flight podcast. Kelly also targeted the faux spirituality that Oprah peddles like it's enlightenment on demand. Rebirth, reinvention, rediscovery. These are the cornerstones of her evolving empire, each accompanied by a new line of supplements, books, docuseries, and TED Talk-esque sermons. And yet, none of them ring true. How many times can one woman find herself before we stop calling it spiritual growth and start calling it a marketing strategy? Even Oprah's political ambitions haven't escaped ridicule. Her endorsements are vague, safe, and opportunistic. She'll float into a campaign with a well-lit speech, sprinkle some hope and change, and then vanish back into her designer cocoon, never quite committing, never quite getting dirty. She wants the halo of activism without the mud of actual engagement. And people buy it. Because it's Oprah. And Oprah must be right. But not anymore. Megyn Kelly's words cut through the Oprah fog with a clarity rarely seen in mainstream media. She called out the contradictions, the inconsistencies, the curated hardship, and the packaged pain. She reminded viewers that behind every aha moment is a pitch. Behind every tear, a trailer. Behind every outreach, a rollout. Oprah doesn't live in the world her audience inhabits. She hovers above it, insulated by cashmere, comfort, and corporations. Greg Gutfeld, for his part, brought the fire. He mocked the annual list of absurdly expensive favorite things, noting the $1,000 pizza ovens and $590 coffee makers that somehow scream relatable to Oprah. And he took special pleasure in dismantling her weight loss miracle moment, an alleged embrace of a new drug she once criticized, while still being a Weight Watchers spokesperson.
Used to love Oprah, like most of us who grew up when we did. And only now did I realize.
Still claiming it's about points. Still pretending that her transformation was powered by willpower and kale, not pharmaceuticals and millions. This wasn't a character assassination, it was a reckoning. A peeling back of the branded image to reveal what's really underneath. Not evil. Not malicious. But manufactured. Marketed. Performed. And worst of all, sold as truth. Because that's the real magic of Oprah. She sells illusions that feel like revelations. She speaks in mantras that echo through Instagram captions and holiday specials, turning common sense into commerce. Be your authentic self, she says, from a home worth $100 million, staffed by wellness coaches and personal chefs.
I've been getting spoon-fed propaganda from this woman for years. I always took her little setup packages as gospel. Before I was a reporter, I never even thought.
Live your best life, she urges, from behind a gate taller than most people's ceilings. There's nothing inherently wrong with being rich or successful. But pretending that you're still the girl from Chicago when you haven't opened your own car door in a decade? That's the problem. Oprah's entire identity now seems stitched together from vision boards and scented candle ads. The compassion. Scripted. The spontaneity. Rehearsed. The wisdom. Pre-approved and monetized. And yet, millions still line up for the next revelation, the next list, the next book, clinging to the idea that Oprah knows something we don't.
To question whether Oprah might be intentionally misleading me. Then last night, the dawn came and I was like.
But if you listened closely to Gutfeld and Kelly, what you heard wasn't just criticism. It was a warning that in our hunger for hope and comfort, we've handed the keys to our emotional lives to someone who sees every heartbreak as a hashtag opportunity.